Hello, everyone. Welcome back to From Logic to Living. This is day 7, so first week is already over. And today I want to talk about the subtle disconnection from self that we have all normalized. And I want to talk about how this felt for me and also what I've seen from other women that I talk to, that I've worked with. So this is what I mean with this connection, is this where everything looks fine, everything looks great, but inside you feel empty, and maybe this is not where numb, where you just, in execution modus, or execution mode, and this is not necessarily something that you are aware of. It can also be something that is subconscious until you become aware of it. And how this looks like, and especially for women. I mean, okay, let me start with my own story. Um, so, actually, today I met with a participant from Flow Over Force, and I shared a bit more about my story, and she asked me why I got into AI in the first place, and how I then felt that it's not the right thing for me. And looking back, I can see that part of this choice was made subconsciously from an ego place. So, of course, there was this need for financial security, but actually, I could feel as a young woman, that women in our society are devalued. Everything that's feminine, that's female, things like emotion, intuition, um, softness. This is all devalued in our society. And what we value is the opposite. It's logic, it's analysis, it's planning. And I wanted to be like a man to be valued. Yeah, and also I chose this a little bit out of rebellion, because there is this prejudice that women are not good at tech, that they're not good at math, and I kind of, wanted to prove the opposite. So it was a mix of, yeah, didn't want to be devalued for being a woman and being very what we associate with feminine qualities, and being very feminine, and also this proving them wrong energy. But this was something subconscious. Only when now I look back, I can see that. And why I want to bring this up is because I think, especially when we go into work environments, we often think that we have to become like men to be successful, right? So we're wearing this mask. We're trying to be strong. We're not showing emotions. We think that suppressing emotions, not showing emotions, is strength. When actually, now what I believe, the opposite is the case, right? When we are vulnerable and when we can show up with emotion and be open, for me, that is true strength. But often what happens, and this is also what Mo Gaudat talks about, he who used to be the chief executive officer of Google X, is what we call female empowerment, or when we empower women, we kind of teach them how to act like men, right? Um, how to lead in this more masculine way, where we feel like we can't show up as our full authentic self anymore. And because we're trying to be something that we're trying to be something, we're wearing this mask, we're not fully authentic at work, and this costs a lot of energy. This is also why it is so exhausting. And what this also leads to is that we disconnect from parts of ourselves. Yeah, and we go into this numbness and autopilot. And this is very much what happened for me. So I was very much disconnected from these more feminine parts of myself. And not just when I started working, but I think it was amplified in the work environment. I think this is generally how we grow up. I mean, also growing up, it's not like we're taught how to talk about emotions, or also in our family we didn't really talk about emotions, and I was under the perception that showing emotions is weak, and then so we disconnect from this part, and we are maybe physically present but not emotionally. And then we fall into this constant masculine energy, right? Masculine energy is all about logic, planning, analyzing, controlling things, and we don't make space to go into the feminine, right? So the creativity, the intuition, the flow, the rest, the replenishing, and we just get out of balance. And this is exactly what happened to me. I was way too much on this doing, analyzing, thinking um, side. I did not take enough time to rest, and I felt completely disconnected and empty inside. Even though from the outside everything looked great, right? Had a great corporate job, great salary, was working on a cool product, published papers, and all that looked great. And yeah, and I think this is what happens to many successful women, right? We fall into this example of how we see other men do it. We try to become like them, and for us it's like this hustle mode, and this, and yeah, and also then fighting against this, trying to not be perceived as weak, trying to be perceived as their equal, which maybe part of it is also in our head. But I mean, at least many of us fall into this trap, and we just get exhausted. And some women keep pushing, keep going, because they think that is the only way through. And I've seen examples where, women have burned themselves to the ground and just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. Some of them, I mean, there's actually one example from one of my former, I mean, she was not directly my manager, but she was one of the managers in the company I worked. A couple of years later, she then realized that she was completely overworking herself, completely overdoing, that it was completely unhealthy the way that she lived. She really did not take time for anything. Like, she didn't do any sports, she didn't have time for friends or family, she was just working. And then later on, she realized that she was basically enslaving herself to the job, and it's not worth it. Yeah, and I've seen this a lot. I mean, for me, in my case, I definitely went beyond my limitations, and there was a point where I was really exhausted. But then I also made the shift, and I think I made the shift pretty much still in time. Whereas I've seen women push through this point and completely neglect all other areas of life, or many other areas of life, or then also gotten problems with their health and still pushed through. And this is what I mean, this disconnection, because we not only disconnect from our emotions, we also disconnect from our body and from all the signals that we're actually receiving, because we don't want to hear it. We feel like the only way is to push through. And we're so oh yeah, I was also very disconnected from my body. I was so in my head. I mean, first of all, again, I think many of us grow up in a way that disconnects us from our body. I mean, I was also not very much into exercise or anything as a young kid. I was kind of lazy. I didn't do a lot of sports or workouts, which of course also didn't really help me develop a sense for my body. But then through the work in tech, or in general through work where you're in your head a lot, this disconnection from the body got so much more amplified. And even though I did already work out back then, it's just another thing, right, that you do. It's another thing on your to-do list. You go through the motions, but you're not really present with your body. And for me, actually, yeah, working out at some point was a similar story, right, where I pushed my body harder and harder. Did, went, almost worked out 7 days a week, did hit, went to the gym, went running, and actually then also started intermittent fasting and started training on an empty stomach. And it was actually a very similar story of just pushing too hard. And then I, I, I had an irregular cycle at some point, and then was like, okay, maybe, I should look into this. And I stopped training on empty stomach and also reduced my training volume after reading a book by, what is her name now? I don't remember the name right now, but she's a trainer for female athletes, and she specializes in training programs for women because again, our body is different. Yeah, we have a different hormonal cycle, so training is not exactly the same so optimal training is not exactly the same as for men. So after reading her book, then I started consuming more calories, working out less, and actually my physique improved. So it's a very similar story to when I was trying and pushing and forcing. My physique was worse than when I let go a little bit, released this pressure of, yeah, working out every day, and I was super restrictive with my calories, and also honestly way too much up in my head about what I eat and how much I eat and when I eat it. To, I mean, I still have a very clean diet, but it's much more intuitive now, and it's much more, and I still, pay attention to how much protein I eat, but it's much more intuitive, and it's much, I mean, I allow myself to eat outside my normal diet more often, and my physique looks a lot better now that I don't overdo it with the workouts. And I also switched to strength training a lot more. So anyway, that is a good example also where when you let go a little bit, you take a step back, you still show up. I mean, I'm still showing up. I'm still eating clean. I'm still working out, just not overdoing it anymore. So you show up, you do the thing, but then you also lean back and trust, and you let it be. And you don't think you have to be on a thing 24/7. You don't think you have to control it every second, every minute of the day for it to bear the fruits that you want. So it is like planting seeds. You plant the seed, you show up to water it, to tend to it, but then you also let it sprout. You let it be. You let it do its thing. And you don't, you know, check every second if it has sprouted already. Okay. So, I want you to take a pause here. Maybe close your eyes. Yeah, close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And now feel into your body. can you feel into your body? What are you feeling there? Is there some kind of signal that you've been overriding? Is there fatigue? Or is there some kind of tension that you've been holding? Do you feel bloated? Or is there something heavy in your stomach? And I don't want you to judge it. Just check in with yourself right here. Notice it. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes again. So it doesn't take long to check in with yourself, right? It can be 1, 2, 3 minutes. But I want to invite you to do this at least 2 times a day. Because also, what I've noticed is it's good to have a morning practice. It's good to do this, in the morning, maybe when you still have time for yourself. But then when we start our daily life and we start work or whatever it may be, then we fall out sometimes, right? We forget about this again. We disconnect, we go into this high functioning mode, we just want to get things done. And then to have this quick check in, to come back to yourself, and even if it's just 2 minutes, check in with yourself. What is it that you need? And then listen to that signal. Okay, thank you for watching, and I see you back tomorrow. Have a good afternoon.